video in New Jersey. And this is our YouTube live stream for today, 3 p.m. Eastern. We've been getting the word out. It is our Hip Spotlight YouTube live stream with Craig Parker Adams. Hello, Craig.
Hi, Andy. Good to see you.
Likewise. And as someone who I'm just feeling very grateful to have become friends with, and as someone who loves a good story, and of course, someone who's a talented musical creative, I think we've got the kind of transmission here today that will be very much appreciated and embraced by everyone tuning in. So, most of our viewers are fellow musical creatives. And I will tell you that Craig has worn many, many hats in his sonic journey. But most importantly, is that he is a artist. He makes music under the moniker Craig Parker Adams. So, Craig, took a little while for you to get here because you've been distracted by helping tons of other people. Perhaps you can share with us maybe uh, all of these ways you've helped your fellow musical creative kindred spirits.
Well, that's a crazy story because it like my as playing as a musician and playing, and trying to get a band off the ground and all this and that, and then going into studios and stuff. We're talking about the young fertile years. I started learning that I wasn't walking out of the studio with the results that I was hearing in my head. And so as I was pursuing that, the interest of becoming kind of a producer engineer kind of took over. And so I was still playing music, and my passion and desire was still music, but it wasn't my prime directive to be in a band to get the band off the ground anymore. Now it's like, how do you record and capture what I'm hearing in my head? And then this just blossomed and blossomed. And then 20 years blew by of just hundreds of records and thousands of sessions, and I didn't really understand why I was getting into that, but now I know, and it was to become a broader, more balanced artist, so
Mhm.
that when I was fully ready to kind of um, well, I was busting from the inside out. It's like I have to put out some of this work I've been working on, because I would be working on other people's dreams, right? And other people's art. And you do that, these long sessions. And then when the session's over, you got all this energy.
Mhm.
So you can't just shut it down. And so I would just, no, no, I'm going to write something, or I'm going to go sit at the piano, or I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to go do that. This is how I would fill in the gaps while I was spending my life working for others. And
Mhm.
doing it, like I said, I was just becoming a broader artist. So
Mhm.
when I started out, I was very singular. I was very one-dimensional with my purpose and what I was looking for. But that musical education was like, no, son, you're gonna go like this. And so now it's like this whole other thing where nothing's off limits. So it's been incredibly enriching, but it took me 20 years, and then the inside just took over, where it's like you have to put out your music, because that was always my quest.
Mhm.
Like I said, like you mentioned, I got diverted with this whole let's start a business and, you know, um, record others and see how that goes. And so now it's kind of like behind me, and I can just look at all of these experiences that I can draw from.
And friendships.
Friendships too. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm really blessed because the majority of my clients I've been working with for literally over 20 years.
Mhm.
So that's a real good feeling, to like look at a client and say, oh, we made a record, or we made two records, where it's like, no, we've made 20. Like that kind of thing. So very, very enriching with the friendships, the relationships. I mean, you name it. It just the diversity of clients and musical styles, everything. Yeah, like everything I didn't ask for
If you
came to.
love, right, if you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life.
You
And
said it.
there's a reason. It's the same reason why you stick with the same dentist, or you stick with the same car mechanic,
Yeah,
or perhaps you stick with your accountant. You stick with people who do a great job and who genuinely care. And there's a reason they're coming back, because
yeah.
they don't want to go anywhere else.
Right. You let you basically the tone, and you understand this purely, and this is what I loved about when I met you right away. I could tell right away, and that is, it's like, look, I'm here to facilitate you getting your vision completed. And when you approach somebody with that in mind, most people in the business that I experienced were always caught off guard by that attitude of, no, I got you. What are we trying to do? Like everything's about you and what you're trying to do. And then as you know this in the industry, then it's about budgets and all this other thing. But when you step up with the idea of, I hear you, I know what you're aiming for, I can see how to help get you there. Let me get on board. Let me be a part of the team, whatever it is. That's how you cement the friendships and the repeat business. That's, at least that was the technique that I used. Um, which was really, I hate to even call it a technique, because it's kind of just following your heart, being what you are. You're just doing what you would do, how you would want it done if you were asking somebody.
Mhm.
So,
And you were not in Des Moines, Iowa. You were not in Eugene, Oregon. Definitely not Jackson, Mississippi, or Charlotte, North Carolina. In the city of angels.
yeah, yep.
Oh,
It,
there's
it
got to be stories aplenty. I mean, that is where all the action is.
endless. Yeah, yeah. And just something to note when you say that is like, because like, so I'm for 22 years was in the heart of Hollywood. My studio was right in the center of Hollywood at Santa Monica and Gower, right next to Paramount Studios, Mecca, if you will. And you can throw a golf ball and hit a dozen studios from in the distance of that golf ball flying, or maybe a half dozen. But you get the premise of what I'm trying to convey here. Hollywood, LA is a very congested, all sorts of opportunities and possibilities. How are you going to compete? How are you going to find your clients? How are you going to survive in all of this competition? And I found real easy that it just comes to you, that your brand, or your whatever you're harmonizing or aligning with, it comes to you, and your neighbor can have a thriving studio business, and you can have a thriving studio business, and across the street can have a thriving, everybody can have a thriving studio business, um, by contributing to the artist, by helping them out. There's enough to go around. So I was never territorial. I was never any of that. So I always wanted to work or harmonize with the other studios, because if you're not the right person for the gig, you have to, and you want the best thing for the person who's coming to you, you have to send them to some place that's more suitable for them. And some people would say, well, that's bad business. You don't want to give away your business. But I would say, no, it's the perfect business, because it lets that person know for that to the end of their days that that person has my best interest at heart. That's far more valuable to me than anything else. So it was beautiful to see things come to fruition that, oh, I can have enough clientele. Oh, they can have enough. Like, I didn't take that on immediately. It took a little time for that to get fully realized, but it did get fully realized quickly that I don't have to be territorial or competitive. Uh, I can send people away. They'll send people my way. And, there's enough to go around, all of that kind of thing. Um, and then that was my approach, and it still is to this day. If I can help you, and if
Right.
I'm right with what you're trying to do, cool. If not, hey, I know somebody that could really help be better for this, or something like that.
It's the best way to achieve immortality. Now, when these clients would learn of you at Winslow Court, which we'll speak about a little later, how legendary the building you were creating this musical art in is, they would ask, so we hear you're the guitar guy, and you'd smile. Say, yeah, I've been a guitar guy since I first got one as a little kid. And I guess in your world, you had to also learn drums and keyboards and a whole lot of stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Um, the whole entire process of what it basically takes from the initiation of the creation process to the completion process. Um, and when I say completion process, I'm talking, the ISRC codes, everything being registered, all of this kind of stuff. So, um, yeah, it's completely vast. And when oh, I have to learn how to mic a French horn. Okay, so when that day comes in your life, however that shows up, you once you've done it and you've got some sort of result that you're happy with or whatever, well, all of a sudden now you've broadened your possibilities. So in the same way that you could record something different, um, and you're writing something and you're like, well, why don't I go try and put down a piano part on this, right? Even though I'm not a trained pianist or whatever, and I'm not a session pianist or anything like that, but I understand the fundamentals of how to make the thing work. I understand some basic music theory. And even if I didn't have music theory, I could use my ear and the hair and my goosebumps and all of those biometric things that we have in our biology that tells us things. So there's other ways, like you can be trained or you can intrinsically find your way. And so to get to your point about drums or organ or whatever, those they came to fruition out of necessity and proximity. Necessity because you don't always have the budgets to hire, because there's been plenty of times where every single person on the session is a work for hire, and they're all wonderful and great, but that requires funding. So not every project do you get that kind of flexibility. So sometimes, hey, I might have to cut the bass, or I might have to, you know, sit in and do it. And so because I am a musician by nature and I loved all this stuff, I gravitated to all the different instrumentation. Um, and so I'm not intimidated by that stuff, but I'm also smart enough to know that when I'm cutting a track for a purpose, I'm not the guy who should be playing on this. I myself have hired other guitar players to play guitar on pieces that I wrote because I'm not a country guy. I'm not the jazz aficionado. Like I can noodle in the different,
Sure.
vibes, but you're trying to do something so you know when it's right to stand down and get somebody better because you're trying to achieve something.
Mhm.
So yes, I can play the things, and that's what I'm doing now. And it's fun for me. I'm playing the drums on songs. I'm playing organ, Hammond organ, and piano, and doing vocals. And "She's All Right" is the very first vocal release I've ever done in my life, and I have a heap of things that I've done for years and years, but just have never brought it out to the public. And so
Mhm.
now I'm taking all of that skill set, all of my life, all of those years of recording others and miking this and miking that, compression ratios and whatever, all of the studio stuff, and putting it into my creations for me, my songs to just release and give out to the world.
Well, you mentioned she's all right. So, ladies and gentlemen who have tuned into this transmission, before I tell you about this debut song from Craig Parker Adams, it's important to note that, yes, there are many studio engineers. And, you got to figure that if you're working with people like Dave Alvin, Nellie McKay, Gabby Moreno, I mean, big names in their musical lanes. Um, you've got to be a little bit floored when you are asked by the Frank Zappa Family Trust to engineer his the guy, the most visionary instrumentalist songwriter of modern music history, to do this. And yeah, maybe making friends with his son helped Craig, but you have to admit there is some Zappa in this new track. She's all right. I mean, you can actually hear the vibrations of Frank in this debut song. And we'll talk about just the incredible, unbelievable opportunity that was bestowed upon you to work with the man, the mothers of invention. I mean, we're talking 1965. He started kicking, and you talk about a tenacious guy. You talk about the hardest working guy in LA. That it
Yes.
was him, and you're the guy who's got to take this vast discography and bring it new life to a new generation, and then the newer generation of people who need to hear this music, because it was undeniably not just outstanding, it was like anything else that it was unlike anything else out there. So maybe tell us a little bit about the gig with the Frank Zappa Family Trust, and how maybe all that work and your love of guitar spoke to how this new song and music video came to be what it is.
Wow. Well, okay. So if there's something that I've done where it sounds anything similar, that there's some Frank influence in there, that's an incredible thing, and it's kind of come in through the side door, and it's just a part of where I am in life, and so that's there. In other words, it's not conscious. So uh, I was always a fan of Frank when I first got turned on to him from my brother, an older brother. Um, and then, like you mentioned, I met Frank's son when I transplanted from Minnesota to California in the late 80s, fresh out of high school. And within within the first year of my new location, I met and became friends with his son, Dweezil. And within 5 days of meeting Dweezil, I'm now at the house in the kitchen, and in walks Frank. So now I'm in the world, and included into the family, the proximity of the family. I mean, I'm in the house, I'm there, So things changed for me tremendously with getting access to all sorts of stuff. So, and when I say stuff, what I mean by that is like, oh, today we're going to go to a Van Halen rehearsal, like that kind of stuff. Like, wow. Okay, so you're opened into this whole other world where you're now let in. With Frank, and the opportunity of working on his music, I was friends already for 20 plus years with Dweezil by this time. And the only reason that this opportunity came my way is because I was helping Dweezil do some mixing of some live Zappa plays Zappa concerts. So I was trying to help my friend. So I was just up at the house in Frank's studio at the console, mixing and doing work, helping my friend. And his mom walked in, and she's like, "Oh, Craig, what are you doing here?" And I said, "Oh, I'm helping Dweezil mix, this stuff because he's got, these obligations." And she says, "Oh, I didn't know you did that," because she knows me as his guitar buddy friend. That's how she knows me.
Mhm.
So it's like, "Yeah, Gail, I have a studio and da 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 da." And she, "Oh, okay. Well, about 5 days later or whatever, I'm there again up in Frank's studio working, and she walks in and she says, "Hey, how would you like to mix something of Frank's?" I could have never imagined or dreamt of such a thing. She totally hit me out of left field, and I said, "Yeah, yeah, of course." And that's how it started. So, because my friend's mom, Frank's widow, asked me to do something, And out of respect to my friend and his mother, and obviously it's a huge opportunity, I was like, yes, I will do this. So that's how it started. Now, 15 years later, after that experience, and probably, I'm just going to say 150 records of Frank's material. And when I say 150 records, I mean CDs that are filled to 80 minutes worth of music. 150 of those. That's what I'm talking about. Like a massive amount of material that totally changed me. And then you're dealing with Frank's, the people in his band, these legacy musicians who are just the top of the heap, the creme de la creme, just the greatest. I mean, there's no debate that Frank's musicians that he would hire, everybody knows they were always apex artists, musicians. So everything that you're touching and you're working on is some form of an apex artist, which forces you, demands, commands you to rise to the occasion. So they haven't kept me around because of who I am. I had to deliver. If Gail didn't like what I did, she would have said, Craig, this sounds like crap. Like, she would have told me, no problem.
Mhm.
So, but she didn't. She did the exact opposite.
Mhm.
So, working on all of that complex music and the baffling amount of intense creative writing that Frank does, um, and I might sound like I'm over building this particular artist up, this composer. Um, he was so vast with his musical stylings that you have to buy a half dozen different records from him to get the understanding of what he brings to the table. One record won't do it. He's way too vast. Um, so even at this day, with all that I've put in my bucket with Frank, I still don't understand it. It's still a puzzle. It's a bucket full of puzzle pieces. It's not a puzzle put together that I look at. It's a heap of stuff where I'm like, what does all this mean? You know? So I figure it's a couple lifetimes away before I get that epiphany, but I'm soaking that up. I take it in. So I feel, you mentioned Dave Alvin, you mentioned Gabby Marino, Nellie McKay, Frank Zappa. You're talking about different quadrants of the universe musically there.
Yep.
So if you're living in any one of those artists' world, it is going to shape you. So I don't know what I am now. I mean, I know I'm a being I'm having a human experience and I've soaked up all this stuff, but all of the music that's in me, all of the art and the new understandings is now coming out.
Mhm.
So that's what She's All Right is. It's a part of that of all of those different artists in whatever way, because I learn from everybody that I'm in the studio with. And every different artist, no matter what level they're at, I learn from them one thing or another. So how that applies to where I am now musically, it's to be revealed. So the next song that I have coming up is different from She's All Right and et cetera, et cetera. But that's my nature now. And and as a guitar player, it's funneled through the school of Edward Van Halen in the 70s
I was
because
just going to say, you mentioned the Mighty BF earlier, and as much as you feel a vibration of the Zappa musical mosaic in She's All Right, who you really hear is the guitar player in that band.
yes. Yeah, Ed's the guy who left the biggest mark on me, and I've had a lifetime quest with him, and now you can imagine all these other musicians we've been talking about are artists. The whole time we're talking about this, my life has me on a purity mission. So if you can imagine running up that horse that comes up the side and it's going around everybody, it's like while my life is happening, there's this other horse running along the side and he's isolated and protected. and that's the school of Van Halen. Because in 1981, I started a life's purpose mission from an experience that I had, and that mission, what I didn't realize at the time, was about purity. So here I am compelled with all of this drive towards music, but at the same time, I'm putting up like the Red Sea wall to not let certain stuff come in and mess with this other artist that I'm compelled to learn from. So before Frank and my studio business started, I have 20 years basically of life trying to figure out this thing from Edward Van Halen, which was very protected, and I kept it pure. So when I started a studio business and now I have artists coming in and literally within a few feet from me, you cannot be in a space with another being who's doing something creatively and it not touch you. You just can't do it. It's going to leave a mark in one way or another at varying scales. So, what happened for me is I started getting into doing and recording, like when we mentioned Dave Alvin, we mentioned Gabby Marino, Nellie McKay, and a heap of others. None of them are anywhere in the world of Van Halen.
Yeah.
They're nowhere near it. So I was able to dive full, like literally cannonball into more music without having to put up a barrier now,
Mm-hmm.
because the 80s were a bunch of bands that were downstream from Van Halen. And I don't want to hear anything downstream from the source. I want to drink from the spigot of the source.
Mm-hmm.
So I turned off all of that 80s rock stuff that people would, say that this is a band that's downstream from Van Halen. They were inspired by Van Halen. I didn't ever saw many of those bands as being worthy of what Van Halen was, so I didn't entertain them.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 20 years of keeping stuff at bay and trying to do this other thing. Where when the studio business came, I was like, I have to shift gears. I've already absorbed all of that purity of my quest for Ed at the time, where I didn't even think about it, and now I have to stay alive, and I have to learn how to record and make records. So I was lost in the doing, and
Mm-hmm.
in so God, the universe, whatever, said, here's some unique artists that are going to enrich you, but will not interfere with that thing that you're still working on that's now on the back burner of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm all of that's over, and I'm like, here it is.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's being held back, nothing's being sequestered, nothing's being, compartmentalized or any of that. What comes out, and it's okay what it is. And so that's who I am now. That's where I am now. I'm still doing stuff. I just finished the Frank Zappa box set, Halloween box set, that's just coming out in like a week. Like I'm still full on with other clients. I got my next Dave Alvin record starting in 2 months.
Nice.
Like I'm in it. I'm full on, but I'm now maybe kind of, if I'm keeping anything at bay, it's going to be other artists so I can get my career as an independent artist off the ground. So She's All Right is my introduction to say, hi, world.
Here we are off. Yes, it's very inspiring. Can you speak to, because everyone watching is going to nod their head, speak to the satisfaction, the joy, the cathartic nature of coming to the realization that most people do actually shift off this mortal coil with their best music still inside of them. You can confirm that is not going to happen to Craig Parker Adams.
It definitely isn't. And I have to point out too that you it's because you as a person, you have those insights of what you just said that draws me to you and how you handle your business.
Mm-hmm.
What you just said takes awareness and knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that. yeah, coming out and doing this is not the most comfortable thing, but you have to. And the worst thing, like you're right, I have all this music where there's all this music inside, but there's all this music on the shelf.
Hmm.
And whether it's on the shelf or it's stuff that needs to come out, the point is, it's like get it involved, complete it as it and just get it out there and see what it does. So I'm for me, it is a new place to be in that. There is fears and things and your insecurities and this sort of stuff, but it's like, no, that's not how to be. You've learned from watching others. All the greats will tell you, persevere, man. Get up. Get up. Do it. As you say, time to make the donuts.
It's
Like,
time to make the donuts, Craig. And a lot of clients that I have the great privilege and pleasure of working with, Craig, I can get them to dip their toe in the water. This new, very different, let's get rid of the humans. Let's not look at the old school ways of doing things anymore. Neo music industry, and you are like so many others. There's a lot of fear. It's like the only thing to fear is fear itself.
oh,
Craig, you've dived in head first, man. You really have.
well, thanks. I mean, it's hard for me to see it that way. Um, I know I get what you're saying, and I'm going to take it. And yeah, I'm going for it. I'm not going for it out of fear. I'm going for it out of, I know it's the right thing to do. It's those things that are outside of us that we pick up along the way, that I'm trying to just eradicate from my existence. So in the same way I could work with an artist and get all of this enrichment in all of these ways, it's the same way in this experience of trying to step out and say, "Hey, folks, I'm here. I want to pitch in. I got something to say," and all of this. It's like it's just good to walk down to the field and show up. And does anybody want to throw the ball? Like it's really that. And speaking with you, you sensed that. I think
Mhm.
within me. You're like, no, man, you need some motive. Just do it. Get up. Get it. Like you knew like what to say, and so it's the kind of stuff that I say to my clients. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But it's when somebody else says it, it helps. And so
Mhm.
I'm the one telling the person like, no, this is cool. It's a good, see it through. I get what you're aiming for. Like, keep them energized and all of that. And I think that's
Mhm.
just some mentors or decent people do to
Mhm.
others. They know they can see somebody who needs a hand and they know what to do and they say the right thing. So
Mhm.
I'm I'm stepping up. I'm walking through those varying things,
Mhm.
and I'm having fun with it. That's the other key thing that you mentioned. It's like if you're not having fun, Craig, why are you doing that? And you're right, because that's how I live my whole life.
Mhm.
So I'm turning this new stuff into as much fun as it can be,
Mhm.
and I dig it. So it's all good.
It's really fun. You tell great stories. All I have to do, folks, Craig will do all the plugs here at the end of this transmission where you can find out more cool stuff about Craig. You're going to find out about the incredible space, Winslow Court, where he made the musical magic. And then one day, the evildoers, the man, the tyrannical boot of tyranny came down on his neck, and it could have been a buzzkill, but not Craig, man. He got knocked down, he got back up, and he's still fighting. And of course, the love of Eddie Van Halen. I mean, man, if you dig the way that guy played guitar, you go check out Craig Parker Adams, and you're going to be like, whoa, this is cool. So there's just so many different parts, so many spokes in the Craig Parker Adams wheel. But no, I really do get this sense, Craig, that like this is, as the Velvet sang, the beginning of a new age. Man, you're gonna make music now. Cool.
I am enjoying it, and I'm already anxious for the next. It's like, you know how it is. It's like, because this one, the next one, can see that each one is this. It expands from the get the singular kind of approach of a Edward Van Halen inspired guitarist. It's each thing, it's broader and broader and broader. So the next song, like She's All Right, I like you mentioned some of the other music that I've done. I do these instrumental guitar records that are not typical instrumental guitar records because I don't do all of the flash solo stuff, although I can do that. That's not what my records are about. So um, but anyways, oh geez, I just lost my train of thought. What was I trying to say about my records? Oh
We were
man.
talking about your Eddie Van Halen
Right.
inspired
Yeah,
song.
thank you for bringing that back. Yeah, so the thing is like She's All Right is like there's some Ed stuff there, there's some other stuff there, but there's also now well, there's vocals.
You're
So
singing, man.
it's just like that was I was terrified because I'm
No,
not a
what do you got to? What do you got if you got a great voice, man? It's rock and roll.
That's right. So I had to be reminded of that sort of stuff. Like the next song that I have is now all of this other instrumentation and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what I'm getting at is it's revealing more and more and more of the things that I've taken on through my life. And so each song you're kind of, oh, there's this. Oh, what orchestration? Where did that come from? Oh, there's, you know what I'm saying? It just because I do it all. So there's no barrier. There's nothing. I mean, if you look at the session sort of stuff that I've done, I mean, it's the extremes are so vast. Literally talking about field recordings of indigenous tribes that are under persecution from around the world. I've mixed records like that, people going into prisons and recording live impromptu recordings, from something as crazy as that to as extreme as Frank Zappa with a 37-piece orchestra, and everything in between, rock bands, punk bands, jazz bands, blues, everything. And it's all stuck to me. It's all in here. So I'm interested to see how is it going to come out, so
I
excited.
I can share with the audience that's tuned in that the reason people like to record, or they do record with Craig Parker Adams, is because they like the way it sounds. But I have no doubt they like Craig. And that is the most important thing, that they like the way it sounds, but they like the guy making it happen. And that's a true testimony to a successful entrepreneur.
Well, I'm grateful. Yeah, it, it it's true. I always fortunately I came up in a family where I saw what it's like to be the value of being a good host, because my parents were in musical situations and they would have rehearsals at our house, and other functions at our house, which required myself and my siblings to pitch in one way or another. And so when my studio business started to come into fruition, and that happened because I got the studio just for me. I had that full blown studio for me and my music. That's what I had for 4 years before I was like, oh, I guess I'll start recording other people. It was never my thought to do that. But when it did happen, I was ready because I naturally have that kind of hosting skill set down, trying to make people feel comfortable. So I I probably put more of that on my wear more of that on my sleeve. Have it, whatever. So what becomes important when to your space, they're on the clock typically, but they can't get anything usually done right away. They have to resettle and acclimate to the new space. And, I just spent 45 minutes on the 405, man. I was like, and now you want me to do, you gotta give them time. So I was real good at trying to make sure that people were in the right state of being to feel free enough to release and then let me capture it.
Mhm.
So I think so. Yes, my personality and that sort of thing is part of it. Yes, I can get you the sound you want. If you can't do that, you're sunk to begin with. But outside of all of that, I had that inner young host going, "Oh, I know." Like the person could walk through the door, and I'd be like, "Man, I know what they need." So I would know how to handle them to get them to settle right down, and kind of the same way you were with me the other day when you were teaching me how to get out to be able to do this stuff online. It's that same thing. It's like you knew how to go, hey, it's okay, there's no pressure. It's not, you do that. You palate cleanse the space or the person or the being so they can now bring it. And that's why I think I still have repeat clients to this day
Mhm.
because I have their heart and soul. Um, Not trying to be dramatic, but that's what I focus on when I'm in their space to let them know I have you covered.
Mhm.
Don't worry about it. Let it go. You have to bring it today. You have to do this. So let's get our mind on other things. And they don't even really know at that point. And then when it feels right, all of a sudden, there it all is. So different people from different worlds, different styles of music, all of that stuff is all it's all in me now.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but
So
yeah.
of course
Oh,
we need to talk about how everything is going swimmingly well, and all of a sudden you get the notice, not a pleasant notice. This place where you've made all this incredible music, so many great artists, so many great memories. They didn't give you much time to skedaddle from Winslow Court. They basically said you're SOL. See ya,
yep.
and you had to reinvent everything.
Yes, and that had to be done also. When that happened, it was also at a time that was I was in the middle of mixing Frank Zappa's Hot Rats box set, and Universal's not interested at that time. I think the family had handed things over to Universal. Maybe not. I can't remember at that time, but it was a very volatile time. And yes, after 22 years,
Damn.
um, I and probably 18 other tenants received a 30-day eviction notice. They wanted originally to do a 15-day eviction notice. And so it was absolutely horrendous. But in all of the things we've talked about, at this point, 6 years later, I can look at it and see that it was apropos for me to get to where I am now because I could still be in that other place recording whichever band today. And my wife going, you need to, you and me inside going, you need to do me. So
Okay.
we looked at it as divine intervention.
Yeah.
And, and in terms of reinventing myself, as you said, what that meant is I got a new studio location, and new residential location that worked out better for us. And so I started focusing more on mixing and mastering records, doing editing and overdub sessions. And if I was tracking bands from the ground up, I go into other studios that I use for the tracking sessions, and then we just bring it over here and I finish it here. So,
Mhm.
uh, but it needed to happen as tough as it was. It was extremely tough. If I was to spell out all the particulars that were happening at the time, you would think like, how did you even survive that? So I only share that to let the viewer know that if we forget from some time to time that when hard stuff happens, somehow we're designed to get through it.
Mhm.
So it wasn't great. And in fact, I'll tell you, I had 30 days to relocate. It took me 26 days of those 30 to find my new place. So we moved a studio, commercial studio, and our residence over the course of 3 days. Two moving companies, one giant truck one day with a whole set, another set at another location. I mean, it was a huge ordeal. And then there's other things to go on top of that, but we made it. We got through it. So use that as just a reminder of how resilient we each can be. So whoever's watching, if you're resilient, so we're designed to take on the hard times. So now that's all been turned into lemonade.
It's
Yeah.
I have no doubt everyone watching this live stream is like, all right, I've already gone and checked them out. They're going to want to know all the different places they can find out more about you, because there's a lot here to chew on, and there's more coming. So, Craig, hit us with your plugs.
You got it. Thank you, Andy. Okay, so
You're welcome.
CraigParkerAdams.com is my main website, and that's where you can find me and anything about me and everything else. My studio, which is called Winslow Court, and court is abbreviated like CT, like a cul-de-sac, because Winslow Court is the name of the cul-de-sac I grew up on back in Minnesota.
Mhm.
So WinslowCTstudio.com. But if you go to craigparkeradams.com, you can get to Winslow Court from there as well. So that's the main hub, craigparkeradams.com. And that branches off into all the other areas. My YouTube,
And you got to go to the YouTube channel. You want to support Craig on his online platforms. You definitely want to stay tuned for what's coming next. And any final thoughts, Craig, for our audience?
just gratitude, appreciation. If anybody stuck around to watch and have any interest in this, I greatly appreciate that, especially in a world of we have a lot of art to choose from. And there's something for everybody. And hopefully there's something that I do that you might like or somebody you know or whatever, and vice versa. So I'm just going to say thanks for your time. I
Oh,
really appreciate it and interest.
okay, now you have a follow up to She's All Right.
Yep.
Uh, just give us a little preview here, because I think coming out of the gate with rockets on your wagons in 2026, I think, nowadays it's all about continually leveling
Indeed.
up to a new place and
Yep.
continuing to do what you got to do. So tell us about the follow up.
Okay, so the follow-up track that I have is called What It Be. And What It Be is another single where I'm doing the vocals. But on this song, it's introducing acoustic guitars. Now, the reason I'm sharing this is because on my releases, it's all pretty much my commercial releases to date are pretty much a three-piece rock band instrumental. That's pretty much what all you'll find in the spirit of vintage Van Halen, but with not all of the chaotic tricks and whatnot. So I'm coming at you a little differently, and that's what makes it unique. And so I think if you're a fan of any of that genre, you want to put your ear to it to at least just get the essence of what I'm trying to convey there. Um, so that being said, and She's All Right, which is also a step up from that because now we got percussion and little sound effects, some little subtle things here and there. Now this next song, What It Be, we're going Hammond organ, piano, acoustic guitars, percussion arrays, and then vocals that are sung a bit more. This one's a little bit more of, I would say, a pop tune in a sense, a classic pop tune. Now, maybe I get that's just the term I'll put on it. You may think it's something else, but that's the term that I'll put on it. So, where it's expanding is the broader instrumentation, the broader feel, and then it's another side of my vocals that is different from She's All Right. So it's an expansion. And then the next tune that's after that, because they're lined up like planes coming into LAX.
Okay.
They're lined up, and each one is brings this aspect to it. So
Consistent, sustained promotion. We're very, very fond of that particular journey. So we're glad to hear that. Craig, thank you so much for your time today. I am
Thank
so
you.
glad we got to speak to you, and continued success in everything you do. And I'm sure we'll be in touch very soon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all that you do. And again, thanks to anybody that took the time to hang out with us. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Next time, everybody, on the Hip Spotlight YouTube live stream.
Yay, hip.